When you look at the state of Georgia, as the world economy changed and shifted, I don't think our government really reacted in the way that it should have in terms of preparing the citizens to be able to be equipped to be successful. So I'm very concerned about rural America.
In 2016, President Trump won the Republican-dominated state of Georgia with about 51% of the vote. In 2020, the state is seen as competitive in part due to a rise in black voter participation. While only 8% of black voters cast their ballot for President Trump in 2016, his re-election campaign is betting that a small boost in several battleground states like Georgia could also help keep him in office.
Blacks for Trump, black voices for Trump.
As Trump tries to increase his appeal with African Americans and the attention on black voters in the Deep South increases, we drove south from Atlanta about an hour and a half to Fort Valley, where we sat down with 8 black voters from across middle Georgia. The group was split between Democrats and Republicans, unlike the broader black electorate, which overwhelmingly votes Democratic. We did this to better understand what voters from both parties are concerned about heading into the 2020 election.
Raise your hand if you voted for Barack Obama in 2008. Keep your hand up if you voted for him again in 2012. We lost John. And raise your hand if you voted for Donald Trump in 2016. John, I want to start with you. You were for Obama in 2008. I know you supported Donald Trump in 2016. Can you talk a little bit about what appealed to you about President Trump?
When I started looking at the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, it kind of seemed like our government lost touch with the people. And so I felt like many that, hey, we needed a bull in the china shop. And I didn't elect President Trump or support President Trump because he had coof, because he had etiquette. No, I wanted a gangster in the daggone White House to just wreck shop.
I wanted to talk about political correctness or identity politics in the country.
I'm very concerned about that in the society because we are being catered to based on our so-called identity, and we're not anymore talking about what Martin Luther King talked about, character. We're not talking about that anymore. It's skin, it's religion. The least important thing about a person, as far as I'm concerned, is what they look like or what they claim to be.
Veronica, you were shaking your head when she was talking about political correctness. Do you think our PC culture, as they call it, has gone too far?
In some ways I do. I think that it creates a lack of opportunity for us to really get to know each other. I really believe civility is taking a hit. And so how can we sit amongst ourselves as we're doing here, and we may disagree with policy, or we may disagree with what other people are saying, but you don't have to label folks as a bad person because you don't agree with how they view the world.
I'm black, so it's automatically assumed that I am a Democrat. It's automatically assumed that I'm going to vote on a lot of things. But when I tell people that I'm a pro-black conservative, they get cross-eyed.
Who has heard President Trump say, black people should support me because what do they have to lose otherwise? Other people here, you've heard that?
Yeah, I've heard it.
What did you all think of that?
I think it's true.
I actually agree with it.
What do we have to lose?
Yeah, what do we?
Yeah, what do we have to
We
lose?
didn't get anything before.
I would disagree. We can't do revisionist history. We have to make sure that we recognize the unique journey that we as African Americans have traveled in the United States, and that's been a very difficult journey. I was born in 1969, Civil Rights Act in 1964, Voting Rights Act in 65. So when we say, well, we don't have anything to lose, we have a lot to lose.
I wanted to ask about voter suppression here in Georgia, that there's Democrats prominently who are claiming that there's voter suppression going on in the state, and there are Republicans who push back on that pretty forcefully. Can we do the show of hands again of who thinks that there is systematic voter suppression in the state of Georgia?
They sent all these letters out in the black community to discourage them from voting and all kind of other things.
Linda, you're shaking your head.
She drinking the Kool-Aid.
No. drinking Kool-Aid, man, you need to wise up and get in the 21st century. I mean, you know, you're thinking, and I've seen people like that. I know you had bad experiences coming back from Nam. There was discrimination. I realize all of that.
It's still
I've been
discrimination.
discriminated against, you know.
Discrimination
But I
hasn't
mean,
stopped.
but you're just thinking, you know, white people, they want to keep the black man down. You know,
And you
voter
don't believe
suppression.
that?
No, I don't. I mean, I'm free to go and vote.
People who say that institutionally, the government here is racist, and that is why you have voter suppression. I think that's where the
Yeah,
racism
my
came from.
point is that there is no voter suppression as such. The smaller
There's
communities.
no voter suppression?
Correct. The people who don't show up to vote, that machine that tells you that they have not shown up to vote, you think the machine knows the color of the person?
I believe that we should have a holiday for people to be able to vote.
I was just gonna
because a lot
ask.
of people aren't voting because they can't get off work to vote. And then in some rural communities, there may be some long geographic distances that you have to travel in order to be able to vote.
I want to bring John in because you guys agreed on that. And is that something that you would support if a presidential candidate tossed it out, a national voting day?
I would support that because I stood on top of a Humvee in another country for people to vote. I do believe that in our country, we should be able to create an atmosphere where voting is easy for legal Americans. Every legal American should have the right to vote. And if that means having a holiday for people to make it easy, so that way we can take away the excuses of nobody being able to vote,
Yeah.
then let's do it.
You supported Donald Trump in 2016, but you didn't get to vote for him.
Right.
Can you kind of talk about what happened and what solutions you think might have helped you?
Our voting and how we vote is very difficult. I moved from Columbus to Milledgeville, and I wanted to vote for Donald Trump. I wasn't suppressed. It just was too convoluted.
That's what advocates like Veronica here would say, is just that those types of red tape disproportionately affect black people.
I didn't feel like there was some like agenda because, hey, you're black and we want to like slow your vote. I just felt like the whole system, what happened to me could happen to anybody, regardless of being black or white or Asian or Hispanic.
Do you feel like the candidates are talking enough about voter suppression?
No.
For those of you who believe that it's happening?
I don't think they're talking enough about it.
If it doesn't affect you, you don't bring it up. And that's where it is. If it doesn't affect your people, you don't bring it up.
And that gets us a little bit to the lack of diversity in the field right now. For the Democrats here, we started out with a very diverse field, and now we've seen some very prominent minorities drop out of the Democratic races. How disappointing is that for you?
I'm disappointed. But those that are in, I'm for.
Who plans to vote for Joe Biden in the Democratic primary? Okay, that's 3. Who else do you guys like that are planning to vote in the Democratic primary?
I'm definitely considering Bernie Sanders.
I'm sorry.
I'm concerned with how it will get done, but we'll never know if we never try. I'm concerned with being a college student who's also independent, that I may not be able to afford health care, but I'm trying to also get a 4-year degree. Now, who's going to see about me?
I want to go to Howard and just talk about, you put your hand up kind of slow for Joe Biden. Are you completely sold on him, or are you weighing other people?
I'm a registered Democrat, and Joe Biden would be my choice. But that doesn't mean that's who I'm going to vote for president in the election.
And so can you kind of walk us through, if it's Joe Biden versus Donald Trump in the general election, what your decision-making process would be?
As it stands now, Trump looks attractive. I've made it clear I don't like Trump, but I'm looking for what's best for the country. When it comes to trade, for a minute there, trade was looking pretty dim, but now it's starting to look a little brighter because he put demands down. And I consider that to be one of the things that I appreciate him for.
You support Joe Biden?
Yes, I support Joe Biden because I associate with electability with Joe Biden.
Would anybody consider Elizabeth Warren?
I will vote for any Democrat that wins the nomination. The best person, I think, in my heart is Elizabeth Warren, but I don't think she could win.
Why?
Because America hadn't reached the stage of voting for women.
True.
I
Is that
hope I'm
true?
wrong, but
Why do you both say that? I'm just curious.
The older generation are the main ones still voting, and if you look back in history, it's like they don't really think a woman should be in charge.
We go back into identity politics again, you know. I don't care whether they're man or woman. We're looking for someone who can do the actual job.
Who would vote for a woman?
I wouldn't.
If it was.
Now, keep your hand up if you think a woman could win the White House. Why'd you put your hand up like you would vote for a woman, but you think she couldn't win?
Because literally we've seen that here in history. If you want to use Hillary Clinton, for example, she had more votes. She was a former first lady. I voted for Hillary Clinton just because she had a lifetime in politics, not just some person who jumped out of somewhere and just said, okay, I want to run for president.
Who do you think can bring people out?
I think that a lot of people will think on the Democratic side, like Mr. Denard, that whoever is a Democrat, they're going to go out and support that person because they are voting against Trump. And then on the other side, they will go out and vote against the Democrat, right? So I'm not seeing as much allegiance to a candidate per se, but against a candidate.
What are some reforms to the criminal justice system you'd like to see happen?
I would like to see all people who have been locked up for minor drug offenses
I was just thinking.
to make sure that that is white. I think that we need to look at how we've locked up a lot of people for something that we now don't see as a criminal offense. I just think that we criminalize too many things.
Does anyone disagree with that stance?
I disagree because I work in a forensic facility with people who have criminal backgrounds, and I am not in favor of people just having their records expunged for so-called minor offenses. Marijuana, selling marijuana, it's in the schools and everything. That's not a minor offense. Drugs are drugs. I know there's the big push on about legalizing it. I'm not for that. And I see a lot of people who get out of prison, they go right back in. They get out, they commit crimes. Recidivism rate is, it's high.
There's a reason for that.
And I just want to ask, what harm is marijuana doing?
A lot.
Veronica, can you kind of talk about some struggles you wish politicians would address that you feel like they're not addressing right now?
I would start with K through 12 education and the fact that I think that we're not funding public education in the way that it needs to be funded. I don't think that the autonomy is there for local decision making so that these schools can be unique, they can prepare our students for a global economy. And I think we have a very antiquated approach to higher education right now. We have some wonderful public institutions in Georgia, and I would love to see them receive more funding than they have. If we're really serious about pulling everybody along so that we all can be successful, then that starts with how we prepare people to launch into this world.
I think that for too long, no matter which president, no matter which party is in office, education gets a lot of, it gets a lot of buzz, it gets a lot of talk, but progress is not really made in it.
And how do you judge progress when you say that?
I judge progress on, for me personally, just things that I see right around me locally. I see education having failed for decades now. I agree with Veronica with saying that education really deserves more autonomy. Personally, I would love to see the Department of Education dissolved. One of the things that I dislike about the Democratic Party is why is there always the fight about charter schools or school choice? Since you pay taxes, why can't you have the option of sending your child to another school? And that is always fought.
I think that some Democrats would argue that the more students you pull out of failing schools, when you do a head count to figure out how many how much money per head is going to go to the school, the school will get even worse. Do any of you agree with that? Or I assume maybe, Linda, you disagree with that?
If a school is failing, why would you want to leave your child there? It should fail. It should be closed.
I come from one of those failing school systems, and I'm a product of it. I believe I turned out all right. I learned how to create my own opportunities, but even now I still believe I have to give back, because coming from those communities, you know how it feels to go without. You know how it feels when people are never pulling your card or calling your name. So I feel like that's how we move forward as a nation. We can't just care about where we are. We have to see about everybody. As America, we are a democratic nation. So I feel like if one part of the nation is failing, then we're failing as a whole.